trời cho không được mấy, đến khi lấy chồng chỉ còn mối tình mang
Gender-based violence is violence directed against women because they are women, or violence that affects primarily women and girls. They are human rights violations committed against women that stem from discrimination and gender inequality, and the failure of governments and societies to recognize the human rights of women and girls. Globally, over 1/3 of women and girls experience some form of physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. Violence against women takes many forms and goes far beyond rape and physical intimidation. Every girl who was married off too young, every wife who was beaten by her husband or in-laws, every woman or girl who was trafficked into sexual exploitation is a victim of gender-based violence. Girls and women who are subjected to sexual violence in war zones, honor killing, psychological abuse, such as harassment and intimidation, are victims of gender-based violence. All forms of gender-based violence are unacceptable violations of human rights, but together they form an enormous obstacle to gender equality, economic development, security, and true human progress.
As you all know, domestic violence was for far too long seen as a lesser offense. It was frequently treated like a private matter. Victims were often sent home from the hospital without intervention. Children were left to suffer in silence. And as a consequence, abuse could go on for years. In many cases, this violence would only end with the death of a woman or a child. And we've come an incredibly long way since that time. We have changed laws. We've made progress in changing the way people think about domestic abuse. We've reduced the incidence of domestic violence. And we've done so in no small part because of the advocacy of your organizations and the willingness of victims to tell their own stories, even when it's difficult. And if there's one group that I want to thank, am grateful for, it's people who are willing to tell their stories, because it's hard. It's hard stuff.
The 2 weeks between November 25th, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and December 10th, Human Rights Day, are dedicated to 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, 16 days of campaigning around the world to challenge and raise awareness of gender-based violence, and mobilizing people everywhere to bring about change. This year's theme is From Peace in the Home to Peace in the World, Make Education Safe for All.
You know, those stories remind us of how cruel, how menacing domestic violence can be, because it happens at home, the place where you should feel safe, because the abuse comes at the hands of the people who are supposed to love you and trust you, because escaping domestic violence is not only associated with a great deal of fear, but also incredible financial and legal challenges that often leave victims of abuse feeling trapped. That's what we have to change. And I say that not only as a president, but as a son, as a husband, as the father of 2 daughters. Now, we've made a great deal of progress in recent years, but everybody in this room understands that our work is not yet finished. Not when there's more we can do to help folks looking to restart their lives and achieve financial independence. Not when there's more to do to ensure that the victims of abuse have access to legal protection. Not when children are trapped in abusive homes, especially when we know the lingering damage and despair that this can cause in a child's life. Not when 1 in every 4 women experiences domestic violence, and 1 in 6 women are sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. And no one who is the victim of abuse should ever feel that they have no way to get out. We need to make sure every victim of domestic violence knows that they are not alone, that there are resources available to them in their moment of greatest need. And as a society, we need to ensure that if a victim of abuse reaches out for help, we are there to lend a hand. Now, this is not just the job of government. It's a job for all of us. So I want to thank all of you for the work that you do in your respective communities. And I want you to know that this administration is going to stand with you each and every step of the way. So congratulations on your great work. We've got more work to do, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of this effort. Thank you very much, everybody.
The root causes of violence against women and girls include gender stereotypes, perceived gender roles, and social norms. These perceptions are formed early in childhood. Only through education can we hope to change them. This means that girls and women must be able to obtain an education so they and their children can lead better lives. It means creating a safe, hygienic school environment for them and removing obstacles that cut their education short, such as domestic work or early marriage. And it means that boys and men must be taught to engage in preventing violence against women and promoting gender equality. Gender-based violence is not inevitable. It is a choice. It can and must be prevented, and the time is now.
Lòng người như lá úa trong cơn mưa chiều, nhiều cơn gió cuốn xoáy xoay trong hồn, và cơn đau này vẫn còn đấy. Chiều về không buông nắng cho mây âm thầm, một mình trong chiều vắng nhớ đôi môi mềm ngày nào ân cần trao thân. Im trong tháng ngày buồn, đôi mắt nào khô, đường tim chớ vơ, đem cho nhau lời nói trên đời nào yêu người. Kỷ niệm xưa đã chết, cơn mê đã chiều, tình yêu đã hết, xót xa đã nhiều, đời thôi sẽ còn mai sau. Thôi em đừng xót thương, rồi ngày tháng phải đi. Thôi cuộc tình đó tan rồi, không còn gì nữa tiếc mà chi. Đời một người con gái ước mơ đã nhiều, mặt trời cho không được mấy, đến khi lấy chồng chỉ còn mối tình mang theo. Xin một lần siết tay nhau, một lần cuối cho nhau. Xin một lần vẫy tay